Good morning, everyone. John Horgan here on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nation. And I'm joined here today by Minister Melanie Mark and Jonathan Burke, the board chair of the H.R. MacMillan Space Centre. As we all know, the days are getting warmer and a little bit longer, and over 55% of eligible British Columbians have received their first vaccine. Now, while we still need to bear down against the pandemic, all signs are pointing to positive days ahead this coming summer. We have challenges to be sure, but we need to focus for the next number of days on following rules, making sure we're not traveling unnecessarily, and hoping for a better future coming after the May long weekend. Everybody in BC, of course, has fond memories of visiting and working at BC's major tourism attractions. From museums to amusement parks to science centres, these sites are part of BC's world-renowned tourism industry. And right now, people in tourism are hurting. In fact, few sectors have been hit as hard by COVID-19 as the tourism sector. Many of our major tourism attractions, as we all know and love, are struggling, and we need to make sure we're there for them. The effects, of course, are far-reaching, not just on those anchor attractions, but to the many communities that depend on tourism landmarks to have people coming through their community to boost the local economy and bring visitors to town. They provide many young people with their first jobs. I worked on the Coho Ferry, a tourism operation from Port Angeles to Victoria when I was in high school, telling people how to get to Butchart Gardens when they came off the ferry. And I'm not alone. Many, many other British Columbians had the same experience, their first job, and also an introduction to how important it is to welcome back visitors to our province. But not just yet. It's not far off, but we need to stay vigilant and we need to be mindful that our international borders remain closed and there are public health orders in place to restrict non-essential travel. It's critically important to our well-being that we do so. But we also need to now start to focus on what we do coming out of the pandemic and how can we help businesses not just survive, but to recover strongly as we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we're launching a new program to support BC's tourism landmarks. The new BC Major Anchor Attractions Program will provide a total of up to $50 million to sites right across British Columbia. And that will include, of course, tour bus operators who will be eligible because they bring people to many of these attractions, day after day, month after month, year after year. This is, of course, a grant, not a loan, and that means it can be used for a number of things to offset fixed costs like payroll, rent, utilities, and other costs that have been accrued over the past number of months. All of this with the goal of making it easier to restart and ramp up operations when it's safe to do so. There's more to do to support tourism, to be sure, but this is a critically important first step. It helps us to fill the gaps that were identified by the Tourism Task Force, which was put together at the request of the industry. Overall, it supports midterm recovery and long-term resilience for the tourism industry. We all want to enjoy the iconic attractions that make British Columbia so special. And I'm going to ask Minister Melanie Mark now to share some of those details with you as we prepare to welcome the world back to British Columbia again when it's safe to do so. Over to you, Mel.
Thank you, Premier. Simgaget, Sigidamanak, Gibit Wiltsik. Hi, everyone. My name is Melanie Mark. My Niska name is Lahaikwaskak, and I'm very proud to be BC's Minister for Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport. I'm also the first and only First Nations woman to get elected in BC and to serve in BC's cabinet. I'm proud to be Niska, Gitsan, Cree, and Ojibwe, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations whose territory we're coming to you from. Thank you for joining us from all parts of the province to hear about further supports for the tourism sector. As the Premier said, the COVID-19 pandemic has had devastating and long-term impacts on tourism businesses. From small businesses trying to stay open safely and keep people working to rent payments and cash flow for large organizations, we know the hardships people in the tourism industry continue to face. Throughout the pandemic, our government has worked with tourism leaders to listen to their feedback and provide additional supports. Major anchor attractions and tour bus companies have faced unique challenges across our tourism ecosystem. They play a vital role in our economy. They are key employers in local communities. Businesses across the province rely on anchor attractions to draw visitors to communities, to visit the gift shops, the restaurants, and other attractions in the area. Tour bus companies are vital to make these regional destinations and experiences accessible for travelers. Today's announcement means we're taking action to ensure these important institutions can continue to create jobs, contribute to local culture, and draw people back to BC once it's safe to do so. Many major attractions, anchor attractions, and tour bus operators continue to face significant liquidity challenges. The loss of these organizations would undermine the tourism industry's short-term recovery prospects and significantly impact jobs in the tourism sector. There is up to $50 million in supports, as the Premier mentioned, through the BC Major Anchor Attractions Program. Major anchor attractions in urban centres that receive 75,000 or more visitors per year are eligible up to $1 million. Major anchor attractions in rural areas that receive 15,000 or more visitors per year, and tour bus companies that serve 30,000 or more passengers per year are both eligible for up to 500,000. Supporting anchor attractions and tour bus companies will help maintain vitally important tourism infrastructure. It also has a strong ripple effect, as the Premier mentioned, on our youth. Many tourism attractions provide invaluable work experience, job, and life skills training for young people, and in some cases help students pay for their post-secondary education. The bottom line is, people are our economy, and when people are working, our economy works. Starting today, the province will be accepting applications from anchor attractions and tour bus companies throughout BC. As the Premier said, these are grants, not loans. It's a very, very exciting day for the industry. The application window will be open until Monday, June 7th, with funds provided by July 2021. I strongly encourage organizations to apply because we want these supports to help major anchor attractions and tour bus companies weather the impacts of COVID-19 now, so that BC remains a globally competitive destination of choice in the long term when we safely invite visitors back to our beautiful province. With almost 60% of eligible British Columbians vaccinated, there is reason to be hopeful. Together, we are going to make progress. And on that note, I would like to introduce Jonathan Burke, Board Chair of the H.R. Macmillan Space Centre in Vancouver. He will share the experiences those in the tourism sector face today and how these supports will help. Thank you. Over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Minister Mark and Premier Horgan. I'm very happy to be part of this announcement. It's very exciting for our organization. To give you some context of what happened to the Space Centre due to COVID, we employ approximately 50 people here in Vancouver at the Space Centre. We had to lay off over half of our employees at the beginning of COVID-19. We've been slowly drawing people back through wage supports and other programs. And our board and our management team immediately focused on three priorities. First, survive as an organization. Second, working on resetting our organization. We went to a lot of online program. We tried to develop whatever programming we could that could get out to an audience that didn't involve on-site visits. But to give you some context of what happened to our on-site attendance, in 2019, we had almost 143,000 people move through the gates at the H.R. Macmillan Space Centre. That went to 33,000 in 2020. Almost a 76% decline. So you can imagine what happened to our revenues. We went from almost 1.2 million in revenues to 270,000 in revenues from gate admissions, a 78% decline in revenue, which was very dramatic, and it was very, very difficult to deal with what happened. In addition, we also provide a lot of educational programs at the H.R. Macmillan Space Centre to school-age children, and our 2020 attendance declined almost 80% for school-age children visiting our site. So it was a dramatic impact. We're now focusing on getting ready for when the pandemic is what we might call over, and that is part of our survive, reset, and now thrive. And these funds from the government will really contribute towards our ability to thrive as an organization as we emerge from the pandemic, to prepare for guests to come back, for all of the associated activities that happen on our beautiful location. And this is just a wonderful day and a wonderful announcement, and I thank you.
over to the Premier.
Thank you, Jonathan, for telling us the story of H.R. McMillan, and thank you, Mel, for laying out the details of this exciting opportunity for the major tourism attractions here in British Columbia. And with that, I'll ask the media to pose their questions through Lindsay.